Hey everyone, it's Paul with my co-host Rayhan, and this is the Dualcast podcast. Today's episode, we're going to be going over, Rayhan's going to have a review of The Witch, going to talk a little bit about the Vive VR headset, Psychopaths, Layers of Fear, Fallout 4, and our main topic at the end is quality versus quantity? Was it?
Yeah, it's quality versus quantity in gaming.
Yeah. So, with that, let's get right into it with Rayhan's review of The Witch.
All right, well, first off, I just wanted to say, hey, everybody. Hope you guys are doing well and enjoyed the first episode. Paul, I'm going to give you my review of The Witch and some thoughts. First off, I just wanted to start off asking, have you seen The Witch?
I have not. I honestly don't really know anything about the movie.
Okay, but you've at least heard of it.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically The Witch is a new horror film that just came out recently. I think it's in wide release. I could be wrong because I saw a few postings saying it's coming out wide release in March 11th. But it's a new film directed by first-time filmmaker Robert Eggers, and it is a horror movie entitled basically a New England horror folktale, essentially. And what The Witch is about is that it takes place in the 1600s, 1630 to be specific, and it is about a family of Puritans in New England who basically get cast out of the group that they're part of, this town that they're part of, because of some actions of the father of the family that he did. And so what do? They go off to the woods and kind of basically make a settlement to live on their own, just as family.
It's a pretty logical thing to do.
Yeah, I'd say so, right? And basically, the family consists of the father, the wife, their kids, a daughter, a young son, and two twins, a boy and a girl.
Jesus Christ. Mormon family over here?
No, apparently they're Puritans, but they did not have pure intentions with that amount of kids.
I hate you.
So they go into these woods. And essentially what happens is, in the woods, of course, a witch lives there, right? That's only logical, too. And so some bad things start happening. I forgot to mention they have a newborn. And so one day, while the daughter is doing her chores, kind of, she's also playing with the little newborn baby outside, right? She's playing peekaboo with it, as, you've probably seen in the trailer, because I know you've seen the trailer. And the baby gets kidnapped upon her last little peekaboo thing. And, I don't want to spoil too much or anything, but that's pretty much the initial setup of The Witch. And I think it's a really good one. It's a pretty simple way to start off a story, maybe a little bit familiar. But I was surprised how much this film actually did live up to expectations, and did not fail, any level of hype that I had. I'll share the things that I liked, and then I will share the things that I disliked. There were a couple things, but let's be positive first. So first off, I want to say the film is beautiful. I would say maybe 90% of the shots, they could be looked at as some form of a painting or another. They're just very beautifully, set up. The angles and the, shot composition presented in the film, they're pretty amazing. Lots of good silhouette work here and there. And, it just really did a good job of presenting the environment as this awful, just kind of dreadful, scary atmosphere. So I really like that about the movie. Another thing I liked about the film is that it establishes that the witch in the forest is completely real. Within the first 10 minutes, actually, it shows basically the baby getting stolen and a woman in a red hood going back to her hut with this little newborn baby to do witchly things with it. And I really like that because in a film like this, usually, from a lot of indie directors, not in like a bad way or anything, but a lot of things can be left up to ambiguity, which is fine. I mean, you don't need solid answers all the time for everything, but I just like that the film tackled it straight away that, yes, the witch is a very real thing, and, it's gonna terrorize his family. And on that topic also of the witch, I think this film has one of the most effective and downright just horrific ways to introduce basically an antagonist of a villain that I've seen in a long time. It's so shockingly memorable and amazingly filmed. There's a particular scene when they're introducing the antagonist. It reminded me a lot of Bloodborne, where the camera was panning back from behind the character, and the silhouette of the character was basically captured in giant moonlight, and I thought it was just an amazing shot. But beyond that, I think the acting in this film is terrific. The two lead roles are Ralph Ineson and Kate Dickie. Excuse me if I'm pronouncing them wrong. They were both in Game of Thrones.
We're actually going to get sued for you messing up their name. Good job.
Yeah, right? Ralph Ineson, people might remember him in Game of Thrones as the guy that knocked out Theon Greyjoy in Season 2. After basically convincing him to take over, Winterfell or whatever. And Kate Dickie played Catelyn Stark's sister, the one that had the really annoying kid. And so they're really reliable actors. And the main girl is, she's played by a girl named Anya Taylor-Joy, I think. Let me double check on that. But she is also just fantastic in this film. Just a really bold performance, in my opinion. So the acting all around is amazing. Another thing I really liked about this film is the period detail is extremely authentic. Now, I heard that the budget for this film was $1 million, maybe just a little more. So I'm not too sure about that, but if it truly was $1 million, my jaw is just completely on the floor because it was just so authentically
I can tell you right now how much the budget is.
Oh, how much is it?
$3.5 million.
It was 3.5 million. Okay, that's still lower than episodes of a lot of TV shows out there. You know what I mean? It's still mind blowing because the period detailing is so authentic. It really blows my mind. And it's not really anything show offy or flourishing, but it's just it's really, really on point. And to that effect, actually, so is the dialogue in the film. Now, this might be construed as a negative for some people. I don't think so. The film is essentially spoken in Old English, where people talk like thou art this or that, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it really lends to the authenticity of the film, but it also makes it a little difficult to follow sometimes because, the actors also have some really thick accents, so that coupled with this form of English, it might be a little difficult for people to follow. I thought it was fine, but there might be some things that people find difficult. Now, as far as what people really care about, is the film scary? Well, in my opinion, yes, but not in the sense that I think people are used to being scared nowadays. Usually most horror films that come out now, they focus on jump scares, which it's I have my own qualms about jump scares. Really, they feel cheap, in my opinion, and the vast majority of horror films that come out nowadays are that. This is more tension-filled, completely tension-filled, really. If you've ever seen The Thing, it's a little bit reminiscent of that, where the music really plays like a big component of this, or even The Shining. Things go wrong little by little, or something is kind of off about a certain scene, and it's just, very big sense of dread. And actually, this is one of the first horror films I've seen in a long time that don't have any jump scares whatsoever. So that really, really surprised me. But I don't think it was scary in the regular sense, but the things that happen are pretty horrific. And I can't imagine anybody, at least not considering that the situation the characters find themselves in is pretty scary. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I mean, I want to get to some of the negatives I have about the film as well. One thing is, I think that the talking, I don't know if it's because the language is a little bit difficult due to the, thick accents and the way that they're speaking. But I think some of the talking dialogue scenes, they go on a bit too long. More or less just to kind of maybe occupy a runtime than anything else. I think it could have done with a little less dialogue in some scenes. But again, I'd need to watch the film again to see if it's just because the dialogue was a little difficult to understand at times. Another thing that I did not like, this was one of the main things I really did not like, although it only happens, I think, twice in the film. So essentially the film establishes these scenes where, the tension is ramped up and maybe characters about to go do something, maybe go explore the woods or, just something creepy is definitely going to happen in action. But then whoever edited it, whether it was, the director or whoever was the editor, for whatever reason, it'll set up this scene and then it cuts to another scene that's just completely unrelated to the last scene that's happening, and it kind of sucks away like that tension that they built. And I feel like that was a bit of a misstep because I think they should have just kind of carried on with some of these scenes and rearranged other scenes to where it's like, it felt a little more cohesive in terms of flow. But, that can be easily forgiven because I think the film from a technical standpoint is just so brilliantly made. It's amazingly shot, well acted. I think for the script for the most part is fantastic, but a simple story, but at the same time a highly effective story. And I've seen people be divisive on this, but I think it honestly has one of the best endings I've ever seen in any horror film, and really any movie I've seen in a while. It's just very, I'll just say it gets you talking a lot. But, overall, I'd say The Witch is definitely a must-see horror film. If you have some tempered expectations as to the kind of horror it is, it's absolutely a slow burn. I'm not going to lie, some parts you might even find boring. I certainly found one or two parts a little boring. Nothing that would distract me too highly, but, it is a possibility. And, but if you appreciate a good, I don't want to sound pretentious, but a high art kind of film, and you're
too
looking
deep
for
me.
Too deep for me, yeah, that's right. But you're looking for something in the horror genre that fits that bill. I mean, you can't really go wrong with The Witch. So I highly recommend going to see it. See it in theaters if you can. It's like an 8 out of 10 movie.
The biggest question: is there nudity?
Actually, it's funny you're asking that as a joke, but there is quite a bit of nudity.
Oh,
I think it was actually rated R for graphic nudity, but
I am ordering tickets as we speak.
Oh, okay. Well, I hope you really enjoy seeing crusty old witch buns.
Those are actually my favorite.
Oh, okay. So, I mean, there you go. That's gonna work for you. But I think that pretty much covers the movie topics that we have for today, but I really just wanted to throw that in there, so go see The Witch, people.
It sounds good. No, I actually do want to see it. I did see the trailer. That's the extent of my knowledge on the movie, but it did look interesting, so I will definitely check it out when I can.
Well, then go make some friends that actually live near you instead of me, and go to a movie theater.
If only I could. Anyways, getting to the next topic is talking about the Vive VR headset, which is similar to the Oculus Rift and pretty different in a lot of ways. It actually recently got kind of a release date as well as a price. Pricing comes out to $799.
Just so we're clear on this, and I want to double check, the Vive is what Valve is working on, right?
It's Valve partnered with HTC, which is usually like a cell phone company.
Right. Okay, I just wanted to make sure of that.
Yeah. So it's $799, which obviously is more expensive than the Oculus, but it does come with two VR controllers instead of the Xbox One controller that the Oculus comes with. It comes with 2 Lighthouse docks, which, in simplest terms, it lets full 360-degree like tracking and of your room and stuff like that, as well as it has a front-facing camera on it, which the Oculus doesn't have, so you can actually see things outside of the headset, whereas the Oculus, if you want to answer a call or text or something like that, or just pick something off the floor, you would have to like actually remove the headset. Whereas this one, you're able to see whatever, as well as 2 games. But I mean, Oculus comes with it too, and Oculus is developing I think it's like Oculus Touch or something of the sort. But honestly, I'm not sure a price has came out for that. But honestly, it's probably expected that you'd probably end up spending the same amount on getting the Oculus and then the controllers later on as the same amount as you would spend on this Vive, where you get everything at the same time.
And you said the Vive comes with 2 small games, right? What are the games, if you know?
It's like Do This Job or something. I don't remember the exact name of it. I
think I heard something about like a kind of like an office job simulator. Is that the game?
Yeah, Job Simulator and Fantastic Contraption, which are just kind of 2 small little, like, I guess gimmicky games, I'd say. The games that come with the Oculus by far are definitely better. But in my opinion, I am more interested in the Vive than anything else. Like, yeah, it's more expensive, but it just seems all around a better package, I guess. And plus, I mean, the fact that Oculus doesn't offer like free shipping on any of their stuff, so like you might actually end up paying a little bit more. I mean, it's still unknown if Vive's gonna charge shipping or how much exactly that's gonna be. So I guess I'll have to wait and see on that. Pre-orders actually open this Monday, the 29th. So I guess we'll see then what exactly is the cheaper option. For now, I mean, again, the pricing on like the Oculus Touch is pretty much speculation on my part. So,
I mean, my thoughts on this is like, if it's Valve and HTC working on it, I guess it's good that Valve has HTC on their side, because I'm not gonna lie, as much as I love Valve and their games, which they haven't made in ages, and I love Steam, as far as Valve hardware products go, I don't have the most faith. Especially, with the release of how all these many Steam boxes have gone,
Yeah.
We've kind of seen a little how Valve at least operates on a hardware platform side of things. Although they do have HTC on their side, which is obviously, experienced with hardware things because they do release phones and other things like that. I've never bought an HTC product, though, full disclosure on that.
I've had one before.
Oh, okay. So are they good?
It was alright. I mean,
alright? Okay.
Yeah. I really had no complaints about it, but it wasn't like the best phone ever.
Yeah, so I'm a little bit skeptical, I guess you could say, and especially even more skeptical because VR's so new. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like, I have trust in Valve, but at the same time, I don't have trust in Valve. It's kind of 50-50. It's like, basically, I just hope Valve doesn't drop the ball with this, like they did with the Steam machines, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Steam machine. I haven't really seen anything after it came out. Really, the Steam controller. I mean, I bought one, and it's definitely I use it for a lot of games. I mean, obviously, it takes some getting used to because of the pretty different control scheme it has going on. But I enjoy it. So, but yeah, the Steam box and stuff like that. Yeah, I haven't seen since pretty much they were released.
I mean, I guess we'll see where this goes. VR is so new, and I mean, you said the price point was $799, or that's like projected?
No, that is $799 is the for sure price. Yeah.
Okay, and did people like throw a shit fit like they did with the Oculus, or no?
They were actually pretty content with the price. I think the reason behind people being so upset about Oculus is because the founder had said that it'd be in the ballpark of around $350, which
I remember that.
$600 is nowhere near the ballpark of $350.
So I'm guessing the Vive didn't really have any of those like interviews that kind of ballpark
Vive
prices.
had always said that it was a premium product and you expect like price to kind of match as such. So that they kind of made it known from the beginning that it wasn't going to be cheap.
I mean, at least that's fair. And I mean, did Steam also released the little VR ready test thing on their page today, right?
Oh yeah, I believe it came out today. Pretty much you just download it. It's like maybe like 1.5 gigabytes or 1.8 or something like that, and you start it up. It's pretty much just like a little tech demo with like the little robots from Portal 2, Atlas, and I forget the other one's name. But yeah, it's like a little like tech demo. There's really no sound or anything like that. It's not really interactive whatsoever. But yeah, that goes through, and then once that finishes up, you just get a brief report of everything. Like, is your like CPU good? Your GPU good? Like your like operating system. And good news.
Let me ask you something though about that. If your GPU sucked, right? Does that mean Stephen Merchant would come out and tell you that your computer's a potato and
yes,
you were adopted?
But yeah, actually, I was pretty pumped because my computer is actually like in the green and ready to go for VR, and I am super excited for that.
I did see your stats that you sent in our messages. I saw that the arrow was in the green, just barely in the green, but I
better than not being in the green.
That's very true. I don't think my GPU would be able to handle VR, so I'm definitely gonna have to.
I think
hop
definitely
at least on a new GPU board.
Me recently getting the 970 helped a lot, I'm sure.
Well, I would hope purchasing a nearly $400 card would help you a little bit in that regard.
But yeah, so definitely check it out. I mean, it's a free tool. It takes maybe like 10-15 minutes. It'll show you whether or not you can bankrupt yourself on the VR, either one of them. And then you can see from there, and then you can jump on the hype train for VR, because Oculus is releasing in March, I believe, and then Vive following in April. So definitely exciting 2 months coming up ahead.
Well, if you do afford it, hopefully that's something we can cover on the show. But moving on that choo-choo train that you mentioned, I wanted to also mention a game that you were talking about earlier with me. So Psycho Pass is getting a North American release this fall, apparently. For those that don't know, Psycho Pass is a visual novel that's... Is it based on the anime, or is the anime based on the visual novel? I'm not 100%
I would assume the anime was based on the visual novel, I think. From what I read, it goes more in depth on the characters.
Okay.
Yeah, well, the time span of the first season of the Psycho Pass anime series. Okay, so it's kind of centered around the anime then. It adds backstory and world building to the overall series.
Okay, well, in any case, that's pretty exciting news that it's getting a North American release. I do love my visual novels, as do you.
Yeah.
And it's being released by NIS America, or NIS America, however you say it. The funny thing, though, is it's coming out on PS4, PS Vita, and the PC, but it's not coming out on Xbox One, or at least being localized for Xbox One. And that's a game that was originally released exclusively in Japan on Xbox One. That's kind of funny. That probably speaks to how much, even though it's a failure in Japan, but not a failure in America, how much, I guess, the Japanese don't really care about the Xbox market at all, no matter where it is. It's kind of funny. Or, I don't want to say funny, but it's just a little bit surprising.
Yeah.
But anyways, I don't know too many details on Psycho Pass, but I also did want to mention, since it's being released by NIS America, another NIS America game came out recently, really a few days ago on Steam, and that's Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc, or Trigger Happy Havoc Danganronpa, whatever you want to call it.
Mouthful of a name.
It is definitely a mouthful of a name, but you know a lot about mouthfuls.
That's for a different topic.
That's for our late night show. But anyways, Paul, have you played Danganronpa before? I did recently notice in your Steam purchases that you bought it outright.
No, I have not played it. I heard you talking about it, as well as I saw people being pretty excited about it. And I've been on kind of a VN kick lately, so and mystery and whodunit stuff from the brief description I read. It seemed interesting, so I got that with the soundtrack bundle. So yeah, but I haven't actually played it yet.
Well, luckily I'm here for you, just like I'm there for you in life, pretty much. And
you're never there for me.
I'm always there. Shut up. Anyways, but I'm here for you. I've played Danganronpa. Well, I just recently started playing Danganronpa, so I don't want to sound false about anything, but I played enough of it that I can give you an impression on it. I, like you, really enjoy visual novels, especially of the whodunit mystery variety. I've played, 999 and what is it, Zero Escape, something like that. I really enjoyed 999, hated Zero Escape, think what you will. But yeah, so I guess I'll give you my little thoughts on Danganronpa and what you can expect. So essentially, Danganronpa, it's a visual novel we've established, but what's the story? So the story is pretty much and this is in Japan pretty much, there's a high school called the Hope's Peak Academy, okay? And in this high school, only the ultimate students get to go there. Like, literally. Each student that goes there is the ultimate at something. So there could be, like, an ultimate podcaster student, for all you know.
Which neither of us would be.
Neither of us would be. Absolutely. You play, but you, my lucky friend, get to play the ultimate lucky average student each year. Yeah.
My life.
Your life, yeah. Each year, basically an average student gets lucky enough to be chosen to be let into this school, and he's essentially becomes the ultimate lucky average student. And you play that character. I think I'm blanking on his name. It's Makoto Maegi or something like that. Very Japanese, so excuse my pronunciations and getting everything completely wrong. Anyways, so when you get to this school, you're all excited. It's essentially going to like a Japanese Hogwarts. The beginning is very much like Harry Potter, really. And so you get to this school and you enter, and it's a little bit strange, actually. It's not like most schools. I mean, there's the portion where people are lucky enough to be selected, but when you go in, the school's kind of empty. And anyway, soon enough, you find yourself to be knocked out, and then you wake up in the middle of a class, but the classroom is empty, and you just notice things are not right in the room. Windows are boarded up, there's cameras, there's monitors and stuff on screen, and stuff on the walls. It's really weird. So you leave the classroom and you make your way down the hallway, and it's at this point you basically meet up with other students. It's about 14 other students. I think there's a total of 15, including you. I could be wrong on the math there, but so you meet up with them and you find out, everybody is basically in the same predicament. They got knocked out and then they woke up and, they all found each other like this. Soon enough, you get called into a school kind of opening ceremony type thing, and that's when you find out what's really going on. So essentially, these kids are trapped in this high school by this, I guess it's a robot bear called Monokuma. I'm sure you've seen the mascot. It's like a white and black bear split down the middle, basically, where one side of him is black and has like an evil looking face, and the other side is kind of cutesy and white. And the bear basically explains that you're trapped in this high school forever. Or not trapped, but attending this high school forever. And you have to follow all the rules and regulations, all this jazz. And the only way to leave the classroom, or where you're trapped in, is that you have to murder someone. But you have to murder them, but not have anybody find out. And if you murder somebody, you essentially graduate and you're allowed to leave. And that's pretty much the central mystery of it, at least up to the point that I played, which is the entirety of the prologue and some of the first chapter. So how's that sounding to you so far?
Sounds pretty interesting. Sounds almost like a I don't want to say Hunger Games, Battle Royale, Hunger Games type deal.
It has, it definitely has shades of Battle Royale. The art style, actually, yeah, that's something I definitely want to talk about. So the art style is a little reminiscent of Persona, but one thing I noticed that's definitely purposeful. So all the characters and environments, they're essentially presented as paper cutouts, kind of like a pop-up book or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So the gameplay is pretty bog standard as far as visual novels go. You're usually in a room and you have to do some investigative things, pan around the camera and whatnot, look at objects and clues. But when you turn it, they don't have like a complete three-dimensional shape. A lot of times they just turn flat and they're presented as kind of paper cutouts, whatever. I thought that was a pretty interesting way. Not 100% sure I like it all the way, but it's still a visually appealing game, especially for a game that I think originally actually came out on PSP and then was ported to Vita when it came out for the American release and stuff like that. It's definitely a fun game. It's a slow start, but it's definitely something I want to sink my teeth into. Murder mysteries like this, they just, I don't know, something about them, it really hooks me as a player. So definitely have something to look forward to. And one thing I can confirm to you, now I know why you get the soundtrack for free, or as an added bonus when you purchase the game. The game actually has a fantastic soundtrack, really catchy tunes. Just kind of want to dance to them a little bit, at least the opening theme in my opinion. And fantastic music. The writing is good. It's pretty funny. It's dark. Surprising amount of swear words in there. And the characters are all pretty unique. Unique. I can see them being unique. Some of them obviously are kind of like cliche, but like that you can tell it's definitely purposeful. And Monokuma is actually, I thought he'd be really annoying based on his design, but I don't know, just the voice actor that did it really just captured this weirdness and creepiness about him, so I'm looking forward to that. But so I recommend you start playing it as soon as you can. What have you been playing though?
I recently finished up good old Layers of Fear, which we talked about a bit last episode. We mentioned then that the full game of Layers of Fear was released last Tuesday, this past Tuesday at least. I played it. I mean, it updated pretty much by itself. It didn't even really need to download an update for it. Although I had to start over, completely, which isn't a huge deal. It's not a long game. Played through it in one sitting, beat the whole thing. So I just give you kind of my short review impressions on it, I guess.
Wait, you played through in one sitting? You have no life.
Well, yeah, that's known, but I mean...
But go on. I've actually played Layers of Fear a little bit, but I want to know if the end product is actually what delivered upon. So go ahead.
Pretty much. Well, first of all, like a lot of what you may have already played, or if you listening, if you've played like the early access version of it, is pretty different. Like at least in terms of like where certain rooms are and stuff like that, or when you encounter certain rooms or like certain aspects or like certain scares that happened. For the most part, I mean, I wasn't really necessarily scared because of my first time playing through it. I was kind of, I expected everything to happen because, it hadn't been that, it'd been maybe a month ago that I'd played through, or so. Mm-hmm. But there definitely were some new rooms thrown in, new layouts, and like just a few new scares thrown in there. Coupled in with like what all the progress that I already made, and a lot of what I did already was definitely more fleshed out. Also, similar complaint to last time though. After a while, it just gets I don't want to say boring, but almost.
Really?
Like, how you mentioned before with Outlast, where it's like, really spooky and scary in the beginning, but then, after
like
playing
the first hour.
Yeah, playing it for like, an hour and a half, 2 hours, it relies too much on the same old. Like, frequently, most of the scares were like, oh, loud noises! And it's just like, that catches me off guard, sure, but like, it doesn't scare me. If anything, it just hurts my ears. Like, I don't want to be walking into a room and then having some like high ass pitch of like just screech go on in my ears or whatever. I don't even know what it was.
I completely understand that because for me with Outlast, I figured out that game wasn't really that scary once I realized that I could parkour my way through most situations. And that's a game. That's a I guess, game/walking simulator where you can die. Like,
yeah, and this is a walking simulator where
you're technically right.
Yeah, well, I mean, there are little segments where you like die, but not really die. Like whatever grabs you or whatever, but like you just wake up in another area or something like that, and then you just progress like normally. Like the whole time, I was literally walking towards all sorts of danger. Like there was like a ghost woman in front of me, and I was like, whatever, YOLO, and then I walked into her. And then, she, like, killed me, in quotes. But, like, I woke up, and then, I was perfectly fine, and I didn't have to, like, restart or start over somewhere. Like, I was in a totally different area for the most part.
Sounds challenging.
Yeah. And, like, essentially what it reminded me of was just imagine walking through just a very long haunted house. Like, / labyrinth that, you can't actually get hurt. Like, you could get spooked by things, sure, but, like, just after a while, you just kind of know what to expect. And, like, and then after a while, like, you just kind of get desensitized to it really fast. Like, the last, half of the game, fourth of the game, I found myself just, like, yawning a lot. Like, I love horror games in general, and I really like spooky games and, like, just stuff like that in general, but it's just, I really wanted to like it, and I really wanted to be into it as much as I could, but I just couldn't fully invest myself into it. I stuck through and I finished the game, but, I wasn't necessarily happy about it. And again, the puzzles aren't difficult by any means. The only time I got stuck was when there was a key that I didn't see on the floor that I had to pick up. I kept overlooking it because I just thought it was a pile of glass. Because there was glass on the floor, just the key happened to be there too. And the one other time at the end when the key was, somewhere I totally should have expected it to, because it was like literally the same solution in the very beginning of the game. But I guess I thought, they would maybe do something different. But I was wrong. But overall, yeah, it was an okay game.
How did the game look? I mean, when I played the early access version, it was pretty nice looking.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
I mean,
it ran like shit, but it looked nice.
I played it through when I still had my 750 Ti before I upgraded, and it still looked really good on that. FPS was good for the most part. The only time I had complaints, just because when you're walking through, the layout of the house changes and stuff like that. Sometimes literally you turn your back and you turn back around, and then there's a whole different layout behind you. And like towards the end, that happens a lot. And there's several times where with you're in the same room and turning a lot and stuff like that, and things change. Like that really just took a hit on the performance, just because frequently I would turn around and frames would drop out of nowhere, and I knew that was an indicator that the background was changing. So that
was like a dead giveaway.
Yeah, it's just I don't know if it was the game's fault, or if Unity engine, which we've talked about before. But yeah, it's just it definitely showed the stress. And then even running it, I mean, I recently ran it on my 970, and then the game looks absolutely phenomenal. But even still, I noticed some FPS drops.
I heard it wasn't, because, I mean, I see threads on Steam, not just about this game, but a lot of people who maybe didn't install, the right drivers or updated drivers on their cards, but I've heard frequently that this game, even on a 970, 980, it has these weird frame drops,
Yeah. I think it probably just has to do with when the environment changes so much. I just don't think the game was well optimized for that sort of stuff. But if I had to give it a number, it's gonna be a 7 out of 10.
7?
Yeah.
Well, okay, more. Would you recommend that I actually sit my ass down in front of my computer and play it? Because obviously I work from home, so just the prospect of being in my computer again for 5 hours playing a game that's kind of so-so, it takes a little bit of convincing.
I mean, I'd say, if it's a really boring day, sure. By no means do you really have to play it through in one setting, so maybe you could just play an hour each time or something like that, just because there's really
it's it's not like
continuity.
something I should be dying to get to.
Yeah, like, it's a cool experience and stuff like that, and it can be spooky and stuff, but by no means is it game of the year 2016. But like it's worth playing, but you don't have to do it all at the same time. I actually wouldn't recommend you play through it the whole in one sitting.
Game of the year 2016 clearly belongs to Quap, so I don't even know why you're saying that.
Game of the year every year. But yeah, so that's kind of my impression of Layers of Fear. But getting on to one final piece of news before we get into the main topic of the episode, just because the episode's running on a little bit long. Just getting into Fallout 4, the Season Pass details were finally announced. So far, there are 3 pieces of DLC announced. There's the Automatron DLC, which is coming out in March, which is $10 separately. It's pretty much a group of robots start roaming like the Commonwealth and stuff like that. A horde of evil robots, as they put it. Pretty much you hunt them down, you get pieces from them and stuff like that, and you can pretty much make your own custom like robot companions. Like you can mix and match like armor, mods, limbs, and like abilities and weapons and stuff like that, which sounds kind of cool. So
I can have an army of Daleks.
Pretty much.
Okay.
There's the Wasteland Workshop coming in April. Pretty much that you could tame pretty much anything. Like Raiders, Deathclaws, anything in between.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that.
You can pretty much make your own like
Fallout Pokemon.
Yeah, you can pretty much make your own like arena, like fighting arena and like gladiator type arena and stuff, just with the different people or animals, monsters you run into. Which again, that sounds kind of cool, I guess.
That sounds amazing in the stupidest way. It's so
like I'm sure with mods and stuff like that, I'm sure some amazing things will probably get made with that one. And then their biggest piece of DLC, which I think I read that it's supposed to be bigger than any DLC they've done for like any game. So like bigger than anything they've done for Skyrim, Oblivion, all the other Fallout games, stuff like that. Is called Far Harbor, which is the more expensive piece. Is $24.99. It's coming out in May. Pretty much that picks up a case from Detective Nick Valentine's agency. Where you encounter like pretty much a colony of synths. It's set in Maine, so it's a totally different, for the most part, environment and stuff like that.
Maine? What's in Maine?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Far Harbor, it's the largest landmass for an add-on that we've ever created, filled with new faction quests, settlements, lethal creatures, and dungeons. So, it sounds okay for if you act like fast. If you could still get the season pass right now for only like $25, $30 or something like that. But after March 1st, the season pass is actually going up to $50.
Those bastards.
Yeah. Pretty much, just because I think they are planning on other bigger expansions and other big things too. That I would imagine are also included in the season pass. So I guess with just the scope of the nature of the DLC, they wanted to raise the price on that.
I don't want to get into a whole rigmarole of this, but I will say I think it's kind of shitty of them to up the price of the DLC like that, or not the DLC, but the season pass like that.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. They're making all this content, and the compensation side of it I get, but at the same time it's kind of like, when you got a game like Witcher 3 and the kinds of expansions they're gonna be delivering, which their first one they delivered amazingly on, and their next expansion is basically gonna be a 20-hour game essentially,
Yeah.
But they didn't raise the price of their season pass. It's a little, I understand that's basically like 2 big pieces of DLC or expansions, but I mean, it's a little, I don't agree with it, but, I don't want to get into more of it than that for
now. Well, speaking of that, I mean, kind of to do with, quantity and content and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, so let's
actually
go
perfectly segues into our main topic.
Our main final topic, yeah, so earlier this weekend, we were kind of trolling each other. Well, you were trolling me, but we were really just trolling each other at that point about Street Fighter V and that really made me think about quantity versus quality in gaming. And a lot of times, a lot of times nowadays, games kind of come out and they're lacking in quality. Basically not quality, but a quantity of content. Or even at least a quality of content many times. And I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on it, share my thoughts on it. So, I guess I'll just ask the question, do you think games are lacking in quantity today as far as, available modes, features, this, that, and how do you feel like it might hurt or even sometimes in some small cases make a game better?
Definitely. I mentioned it earlier when we briefly talked about it. I feel often a lot of companies are kind of just pushing their games out faster to kind of make a quick buck, I guess, just because, the initial hype of the game itself. Some examples, like Destiny, Battlefront.
Annualization, Call of Duty, Assassin's Creed.
Yeah. But, those more or less are typically what you expect, I guess, in terms of those. Whereas, I'm trying to think of the best way to word this. With Call of Duty, you know what to expect, that, you have kind of like a subpar story, but with, multiplayer is essentially where is the majority of the content. And that's pretty much been the case for almost every Call of Duty and, zombies and stuff like that. And, I have Black Ops 3. I didn't think I'd buy it. I ended up buying it. A lot of friends had it. And I'm typically not a huge Call of Duty fan, but this is definitely a really fun game. I
think you've bought Call of Duty every year except for Ghosts, man.
No, I didn't get Black Ops 2. I would only play, I think I rented Advanced Warfare for, the story.
I thought you bought that.
No.
Oh, okay. But anyways, point being.
Yeah, but it's a pretty big step over all the recent Call of Duty games that I've encountered, and that seems to be kind of the resounding kind of feedback that I read online and stuff like that people enjoy this one more so than others. But anyways, Battlefront, that one probably being, one of the, worst offenders of this.
And you bought that, right?
Yeah.
You played with our friend Kyle.
Yeah. I enjoy the game. I enjoy the beta. I haven't played it in a while, but I've
noticed.
I've had a lot of other games that I've been playing. But it's still fun. Especially with the friend. I think that's where the game really shines. If I didn't, if I didn't know Kyle, if he didn't have it, I wouldn't have bought the game. Maybe if it would have went on sale super cheap, but it's just there's only a few modes that I actually enjoy playing, albeit I haven't tried all of them. So maybe there's a few hidden ones that I would enjoy that I just haven't tried yet. But typically, me and Kyle usually play 2 or 3 different game modes.
Did you buy the season pass for that?
No. I was waiting to see kind of what the content would include. They came out with a brief description, but I'm gonna wait and see exactly what all comes with it and if it's even worth it, because that's another $50 season pass, which which leads into the whole thing I was saying, where they kind of make a whole, they rush out an incomplete game or a game which is severely lacking content, and then just to either patch in rare cases, or DLC everything that should have been in there in the first place. Destiny, you, from your experience and my experience, had very little content in the beginning.
Actually, so I want to speak on Destiny a little. So when you and I originally got it, we got it at the same time.
Yeah, I got it the day it came out.
Oh yeah, I got it at midnight.
Yeah, I got the Destiny PlayStation or whatever.
And I remember playing with you, and we played a good week, maybe a week and a half, and then I actually sold the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Destiny, when it initially came out, it sorely was actually lacking content. It was just kind of really mediocre story missions, and the strike missions, and then of course there was the Crucible stuff. But
yeah,
that's really it. And as far as incentives to actually keep playing those over and over, at least that the incentive was not there. The grind was so heavy, as you and I can attest to. Holy crap, the grind was really heavy. And so I sold it, but when I did come back to Destiny after the Taken King update, that was a completely different game. I mean, I played that game for hours with you at night, and you know, all our friends, and that was a completely different game. And I kind of wish Destiny was that from the get-go. So, you know.
Yeah, like I stuck with the game pretty much the whole way through. You know, albeit I didn't play it a ton at first, you know, because I didn't know anyone else with the game until Kyle finally got a PS4 and he got Destiny, and I actually had someone to play it with, and that's really when my time spent on that game kind of took off.
But the funny thing is though, like when I started playing again, we played for a few months. I think it was at least like 2 months, at least 3 months, that we were like really heavily back into it again. But then recently, at least as far as the last 2 months, you haven't really played it at all. Well, part of that is you literally forcing yourself off of kind of like a bad drug habit kick, but secondly,
and also, I mean, we've had distractions and stuff, and like other actual playable games have been out.
Yeah, we've had other playable games, but another thing I've noticed, definitely in the Destiny community, because I check here and there, Destiny's kind of going through a content drought right now. There's after the Taken King, there wasn't really much. Again, it's kind of the same thing. Not much incentive to really do much.
Yeah, there's pretty much. I mean, I visit the Destiny subreddit quite a bit, and yeah, the salt is prevalent.
Right. But let's wrangle this topic back. So I want to. Okay, so you gave some of your thoughts, and then I just want to kind of share mine too, and then you can come back in. But so I wanted to talk about this also because I'm in the middle a little bit with this. So I do think, there's a certain amount of games that are definitely lacking content, and then there's games that are not. So I want to say most recently, a game that is lacking content is Street Fighter V. That's been seen all over the internet, whatever gaming outlet. It's definitely been heard, and the fans have absolutely voiced their opinion. Now, I'm not the biggest fighting game, I don't want to say fan, but I'm just not the biggest fighting game player. But I played Street Fighter ever since I was small. 6 years old, whatever. I did not play Street Fighter 4 at all, but I definitely heard about the things that were in that game, and especially as the additions went on, I thought, hey, that sounds pretty cool. So I thought, Street Fighter 5, it looks really good, and it looks really fun to play. So I bought it. Now, I bought it knowing that there's not a lot of content, but the reality of it still struck me a little bit. When I played it, I was surprised there's no arcade mode. And I'm surprised that the versus mode doesn't even have a versus CPU, so that was kind of shocking. So any kind of really single player content, there is a survival mode, which is exactly what it sounds like. You do X amount of fights and try to survive, blah blah blah. And then there's the story mode, which is really like these little prologues. And I timed myself today. You could finish each character's story things if you skip the story cutscenes, if you want to call them that, in 3 to 5 minutes.
Jesus.
Honestly. So it's mind you, these are prologues basically, but they're astonishingly short, and they're very easy. No matter whether you're casual or hardcore, they're very easy, which they're probably meant to be easy. I played a few online fights. I got my ass handed to me. Obviously, I'm just complete casual, but I was surprised really by the lack of single player content. Now, with that said, Street Fighter V is a fantastic game. I know you don't play fighting games really at all, but good lord, it's really fun. It's the Street Fighter that I remember, but obviously updated, and it's just a lot of fun. And I'm not gonna lie, maybe it's just because I have less time after work to really invest myself in certain games, like story related games all the time. Or I'm kind of not in the mood all the time to be in a story-related game. So the other night, for a good 30-45 minutes, I was just in the little training thing, learning how to do Cammy's moves. And I'm not going to lie, it was really fun just kind of sitting down and trying to learn a move or two and really get that right. So I do want to say that about Street Fighter V, but I also want to say buyer beware. A lot of the things in that game, single player wise, are not coming until March, from what I've noticed. in March they will be doing a update for a fully fleshed out story that should be.
Is it March? I thought it was like June.
Well, they're saying the story mode content is March, so we'll see. If it is June, that sucks, but I guess we'll see. There is content coming out in March, though, for sure. Another thing I did like about Street Fighter, though, is even though it's lacking content, at least Capcom attests, it's basically going to be like a service platform with free DLC instead of, like Ultra Street Fighter 4 and whatnot like that. So, I mean, I'm sure you can pay real world money for these things, but you can earn fight points in the game to where you can buy every character with these fight points and stuff like that, and costumes. So I thought that's pretty cool. So that I'm on the side of right there where I think it's lacking in quantity in terms of, overall value, unless you're a really hardcore fan. I'm not exactly disappointed by my purchase because I'm having fun, but at the same time, I wish there was more. The other side of that, I'll try to keep it a little shorter, is Rainbow Six Siege is a game I've been playing recently for the past month now, I want to say. And that game, I remember it did get some hubbub like, oh, this is an only online game. There's only like 10 maps. Now there's 11. And there's like 20 operators or classes, as you will. And this is that, blah, blah, blah. But honestly, playing Rainbow Six Vegas, even though, it's a very well-established brand, I think it's as known as Call of Duty, but it's not as popular as Call of Duty. And, of course, it's under the Tom Clancy name, so... But playing Rainbow Six Siege, I'm not going to lie, even though there's only 2 modes, or not really 2 modes, there's 3 to 4 modes, but essentially the same variation of each mode. I haven't really noticed a lack of content. I'm not gonna lie. I spend nights 3-4 hours with friends, or sometimes even by myself, just kind of getting into games, playing rounds, and I think that's one of those games where even though on a surface level it seems like there's not much content, Rainbow Six, if you get into it, there is a lot of content and a lot to do. Of course, people are disappointed that there's no single player, but hey, that game, once you play it, you really realize it was made to be basically just a competitive thing.
Yeah, I feel like
on the side of Counter-Strike.
Just because it does, the multiplayer aspect so well that people don't complain about lack of content in CS:GO, even though half the time people are playing on the same map almost all the time.
Yeah, and CS:GO is another one of those games where it's like I have it, but I don't want to play on any map but Dust 2, and if I get any other map besides Dust 2, well, it better be something amazing,
yeah.
Or else I just hop out of the game. So, but I think another thing that was like CS:GO is $15 and Rainbow Six is $60.
Yeah.
Now we got our copies of Rainbow Six for $40. I think I can justify Rainbow Six as a purchase if you know what you're getting into and only really want a multiplayer game. I think I can suggest it at $40. $60, I can see where you're apprehensive, but if you're really into that type of game, I think even $60 you could do it. But right now, I think at $40, if you can find it, which you can in most places, it's a must buy. So, as far as quality, it's tough. It's tough, but I think there's companies that do it right, and there's companies that do it wrong.
Definitely.
I absolutely think, what Capcom's doing with Street Fighter V, pretty foolish. But, hopefully they can make a turnaround with it and get their fans happy. You know what I mean? There's the hardcore audience, but you know what? There's a lot of people that are either playing Street Fighter for the first time and, they're going to be surprised like shit, or there's fans like me who have been a fan but distant for a while and they're just coming back to it. And then there's games like, I guess Battlefront, like you were saying, or even Destiny. I think developers should look at these games and learn what not to do, or at least take time.
Yeah.
Because I feel really the one main thing I feel like a lot of these games is also this first game is just a prototype for the sequel, which what the fuck,
Yeah.
So, I don't know. If you have more thoughts on that, go ahead and lay it down on the table.
No, I pretty much agree with what you're saying. And then yeah, the whole free DLC thing is pretty neat. Both for Street Fighter and even Rainbow Six is doing that. Where you don't have to buy the season pass, at least to my knowledge, right?
Oh yeah, no. So Rainbow Six, I forgot to mention that, but you don't have to buy the season pass. So basically, what the season pass does for you is you get the content a week early, and then a week later, whatever maps came out, everybody gets them, and whatever operators or what came out at that time, everybody gets them. Now the caveat to that though is that the operators, people get them, but to unlock them with in-game money, it's a shit ton.
Yeah.
Like you get these things, operator points or whatever, and each character is 25,000, and that might not sound like a lot.
Jesus Christ.
If you play the game and you've played the game, like earning those points, you earn increments between 200 and 500, and
yeah,
if you're lucky, in the high 700-800s every time. I mean, I guess if you've unlocked everything in the game so far, since its release till now, these operators are very easily attainable, but just a word of warning there. But I think Rainbow Six is still doing it right. People get the maps, nobody's left behind in terms of the maps, and even though there's 2 new operators, I'm only interested in one. But Rainbow Six is also one of those games where it's kind of like Team Fortress. I think once a player gets decent at the game, they know who they are already good with. So besides experimentation, they're not missing much by not playing the new operators. You know what I mean? So. But
no, I definitely agree with that. I mean, albeit you spent way more time on it than I have. I just haven't really gotten to really get into it. I really need to be in a certain mood to play that game for a long amount of time. And I just haven't.
What you need to do is get good, but go ahead.
I mean, that too. But yeah, I just haven't necessarily felt it yet playing it. I mean, maybe eventually I'll get to that point. I plan on keeping the game. I don't plan on selling it or anything like that. So I'm sure I have plenty of time. And
don't you betray me, you bastard.
I'm actually throwing it out the window now.
Luckily enough, you don't have Windows.
But yeah, no, I think that wraps up my thoughts on the matter. Did you have anything else?
I mean, on that topic, not really. I think that I've pretty much exhausted anything I could say on it. But, all right. I also just want to say I hope everybody enjoyed the show.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys, for another episode. This one was a lot shorter than the other one by almost an hour. So, and yeah, feel free to chime in with feedback. Like, was the last episode too long? Were you able to listen to it all? Do you prefer shorter episodes? Like, what exactly is your preferred listening, length?
Yeah, and if you also have any topics of discussions or anything, we have our emails we have the email posted in the descriptions of our YouTube video links. So definitely go ahead and email us, and definitely want to start some communication with any and all fans that we have. So
definitely.
Please. All right, well then, thanks for tuning in, guys. I'm Rayhan of the Dualcast Podcast.
And I'm Paul, and thank you again for tuning in.
Later.
Later.